The person I'm looking for is quite well known. He's killed 14 people that we know of.
You ever think he might come after you?
Oh, at least 30 seconds of every day. Hello?
Is this Clarice? Oh, hello, Clarice.
What people don't deem as normal or can't understand is frightening. Mental illness and criminal insanity are perfect examples of this. What little knowledge people do have on the topic comes mostly from the media. The nature of media to present the most far-out extreme cases of any story results in the public's misunderstanding of many stories, specifically mental illness. The media represents a lot of murderers as criminally insane. They're trying to find a way to justify murders in most cases. This has cultivated the idea of criminally insane people as unpredictable and dangerous. This has been mainstreamed into TV shows and scary movies. The deranged killers like Freddy and Jason frequently suffer from mental illnesses. People who actually can be labeled as criminally insane are defendants unfit to proceed with a trial because of a mental disorder that interferes with the ability to understand the charges against them and to cooperate with their attorney in their defense. Convicted offenders who have become mentally ill while serving time and are transferred to hospitals for the criminally insane. And lastly, defendants who are judged not responsible for their offenses due to various standards of insanity.
The data was collected as part of a survey of the Albany, New York metropolitan area conducted in the summer of 1975. The sample consisted of 149 randomly or systematically selected blocks, from which 447 households were drawn. They followed the cluster sample design described by Backstrom and Hirsch in 1963. In each sample, they alternated between choosing the head of the household and the spouse of the head of the household. A total of 413 households were interviewed, and they received a 92% response rate. 62% of the respondents were females, and their average age was 45. Of these respondents, 78% were married, and almost all, or 94%, were white. As part of the survey, each respondent was asked to complete a series of 14 bipolar semantic differential adjective items adapted from Nonnelly and Olmsted and Durham in 1976. The term bipolar is the keyword in understanding that sentence. For example, the respondents were asked to rate on a 7-point scale, or from 1 to 7, adjectives such as good to bad, safe to dangerous, and high sex drive to low sex drive. There were 14 sets of these adjectives, and they were each asked for most people, a criminally insane patient, and a mentally ill patient. In all the questions pertaining to the criminally insane, they refrained from defining this term. They did this to determine what the public thought was encompassed by the term criminally insane, not its attitudes towards what is legally indicated by this term. Thus, after the adjective responses were completed, they asked whether respondents could recall having seen or heard stories on the radio, TV, or newspapers about someone who was criminally insane. They felt that from their responses, they could determine the relationship between their actual levels of fear and the media's impacts on the public's perceptions of the criminally insane.
The main reason this study was conducted was because of the assumption that the public perceives the criminally insane as threatening. The researchers wanted to see if this was actually true, how to determine how threatening they were seen to be, and to see how the media influenced these perceptions. Based on prior studies, it was expected that people who were former mental patients were viewed by the public as threatening and as someone to avoid. The researchers hypothesized that criminally insane people would be more feared and more avoided by the public than former mental patients. This hypothesis was found to be true, and in the survey that was conducted, 29% of the respondents felt that people fear mental patients a lot, while 61% feared criminally insane patients a lot. This shows that there is a strong relationship between fear and patient classification. Table 2 shows a breakdown of adjectives used to describe people. The three categories of people are most people, mental patients, and criminally insane patients. The ranking scale for adjectives used was from 1 to 7, with 1 being the most dangerous and 7 being the most safe. With regards to the first three adjectives, dangerous, harmful, and violent, the group most people average a score of 5, whereas the criminally insane average a score of about 2. This shows that criminally insane patients are seen as more dangerous, more harmful, and more violent than most people. To reduce the list of 14 adjectives into 2 main adjectives for a better distinction between mental patients and criminally insane, they were divided into 2 major dimensions. For the mental patients, there were 2 factors which consisted of different adjectives. The first one included unpredictable, predictable, mysterious, understandable, tense, relaxed, and low self-control, high self-control. The second factor included dangerous, safe, harmful, harmless, violent, nonviolent, and bad, good. This resulted in 2 underlying adjectives, unpredictable and dangerous. The same set of adjectives were grouped into 1 category for the criminally insane. Rather than finding a distinction between the adjectives unpredictability and dangerousness, the public lumps these 2 dimensions together for the criminally insane. People relate the unpredictability of criminally insane people with the fear they feel from those people. The public's fear of the criminally insane is greater than their fear of former mental patients. To determine why the public experienced such a high level of fear of the criminally insane, respondents were asked what people they had seen or heard stories about in the media. Of the 413 respondents, 42% were able to name 1 person, 46% were able to name 2 people, and 16% were able to name 3 people. The most frequently named person was Robert Garrow, who murdered 3 campers in the mountains. Garrow pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but his plea was unsuccessful. All of the people that were mentioned were also notorious for some sort of attempted or actual assassination or mass or bizarre murder. This helps explain the earlier findings of the high levels of public fear of the criminally insane. Even though none of these people fit into any legal classification of criminally insane, they were portrayed this way by the media.
The main point that's presented is the negative effect that the media has on the perception of the criminally insane. People perceive the criminally insane as more dangerous than they really are. What was found was that based on the media's coverage on criminal events, the public perceived criminals involved with bizarre murders as criminally insane. When people are asked to name historic criminally insane criminals, participants listed many people who were not legally defined as criminally insane. The media focused on these more bizarre stories and painted the criminals as insane, and this skewed public's perceptions of what it means to be criminally insane. The central research question presented was, does the media have an effect on people's perception of the criminally insane? The concluding answer was yes. Media typically construes the perceptions of criminally insane and makes the people seem more dangerous, and citizens have a higher fear of this group. While many believe that it is difficult to marginalize a group like the criminally insane, the media has marginalized them by making them seem more dangerous and feared by many than they should be. Out of the criminal acts by individuals legally defined as criminally insane, only 14.4% were murder. Most criminally insane offenses are non-violent offenses. Relating back to Chapter 14, the cultivation theory, the stories that the media presents and the false information the media gives about the mental state of the criminals has changed the public's basic views of the criminally insane to involve all murderous crimes. Because of this cultivation by the media, criminally insane persons are viewed as being far more dangerous than they are. When most people think of the criminally insane, they believe it only pertains to horrendous violent acts. In actuality, the definition doesn't distinguish a specific crime that has to be committed. It is a mental disorder where a person doesn't understand right from wrong or understand the wrongfulness of their actions. This lack of knowledge by the outside world only further leads to the stereotype that these people are dangerous, and the media exploits this stereotype. For the most part, crimes committed by the criminally insane are not malicious. The media continues to marginalize the criminally insane and portray them as murderous and dangerous.
When a mother has to speak the words that condemn her own son, but I couldn't allow them to believe that I would commit murder. They'll put him away now, as I should have, years ago. He was always bad, and in the end he intended to tell them I killed those girls and that man, as if I could do anything except just sit and stare, like one of his stuffed birds. Well, they know I can't even move a finger, and I won't. I'll just sit here and be quiet, just in case they do suspect me. They're probably watching me. Well, let them. Let them see what kind of a person I am. I'm not even going to swat that fly. I hope they are watching. They'll see. They'll see, and they'll know, and they'll say, why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.